Sorry,
so you got red.
A bit more focused on that.
You know, yeah, that thing. Yeah, I kind of get that. I move your punching bag right here.
Cool.
Cool. So if you want me to do anything else, let me know. I'll just, get on out of here then. What? What you want?
Can you make it quiet? So they can't hear us.
Done.
What do you mean done?
They can't hear us. Done.
They can't hear us at all.
Hello, guard dude. Davis is stabbing me.
Okay then. Right. SCPs. Fucking stupid shit. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, yeah, what's up?
Can you get me out of here?
Oh, yeah.
Easily.
Easily. Where do you want to go?
Back to the Foundation.
Something happened?
Just another higher up. I'm tired of taking orders. In a bit, I'll ask, is that alright?
Yeah, just whenever you want to go, I'll get you out of here. They were asking me if I could find any underground foundation parts to tell them, so. Cool. If you want any snacks, let me know too. I got a lot.
Yeah.
Sick. Just be chilling over here then.
Can't wait until the next episode. Fuck off, Ed.
Item number SCP-174. Object class Euclid. Special containment procedures. SCP-174 is to be contained within Storage Unit 7 at Site 19. Removal of SCP-174 from containment requires the approval of 2 Level 4 personnel familiar with the entity. It is preferable to use personnel with high psychic resistance scale scores when interacting with SCP-174. All personnel in contact with SCP-174 are to undergo psychological evaluation. Those who display obsessive or protective tendencies toward the item are to be treated with Class B amnestics and monitored for 72 hours. Addendum to Containment Procedures. Following Incident 174-A, SCP-174 and the main chamber of Storage Unit 7 are to be monitored at all times via video surveillance. Abnormal activity must be reported to Dr. A immediately. Furthermore, a GPS tracking device is to be installed on SCP-174 in order to expedite recovery, should the item translocate outside of Foundation custody. Description: SCP-174 is a wooden ventriloquial figure, measuring 53 centimeters from head to toe, with somewhat ragged clothing and slight damage to several sections. Judging by the item's style and state of repair, it dates from the early 20th century. The eyes and mouth of SCP-174 can be manipulated by means of a mechanism inside the figure. When viewed in peripheral vision, subjects report on occasion that SCP-174 is looking directly at them, with an expression of longing or sadness. When subjects look directly at SCP-174, this anomalous expression is not visible. Viewing SCP-174 indirectly, such as in a mirror or a live video feed, appears to increase the likelihood of this effect manifesting itself. Personnel in the vicinity of SCP-174 report a general feeling of sadness or sympathy directed toward the figure, but cannot explain any reason for these feelings. Prolonged exposure can lead to personnel personifying the figure to greater extents. Those with particularly low psychic resistance scale scores will in some cases begin to act as if SCP-174 were a living being, e.g. cradling it as if it were a baby. When informed of their abnormal behavior, all personnel revert to standard behavior patterns for at least several minutes. Subjects who place SCP-174 on their hand report an urge to converse with it. When questioned, they frequently report that the figure is lonely and needs companionship. The subject will also begin speaking for SCP-174 and manipulating its expression. When speaking for the figure, the subject's voice will take on a higher-pitched, childlike tone. Recordings taken with high-sensitivity microphones have determined that at no point does the figure itself actually speak or make any discernible noise. Regardless of the subject's experience, the act will be almost perfect. The conversation will quickly move toward a discussion of the figure's emotional state, particularly in relation to its past, in most cases leading to the retelling by the figure of a story of how it was abandoned or mistreated. No one story has ever been repeated, and therefore which, if any, is true, is unknown. Researchers have theorized that SCP-174 may have low-level telepathic abilities, as each story seems to be based around a theme that will have particular resonance with the current subject. Past this point, subjects will show great affection for SCP-174, and will attempt to protect it from people who come too close or try to interact with it, in some cases, with deadly force. Subjects often refer to SCP-174 as their baby, or use similarly strong terms of endearment when referring to it. This effect persists for several hours after SCP-174 and the subject have been separated, and in at least one case the effect had not dissipated 2 weeks after final interaction. Whether the effect would ever have lessened is unknown, as the subject in question was terminated, owing to lack of compelling reason for further study. Subjects who are completely isolated from SCP-174 will become paranoid as to the figure's safety, and often undergo a mental collapse, similar to that observed in mothers separated from young children. Class B or stronger amnestics have been shown to be effective in curing both the obsessive effect and the majority of any resultant mental trauma. However, almost all who undergo such treatment complain of feelings of loss and can become depressive. Addendum 174-1. Experiment log. Transcription of video footage. Subject, D14285. Female, 21. No history of violent crime. Supervising researcher, Dr. A. Location, containment cell A4. Researcher and staff observing from behind two-way mirror. Site 19. D14285 is ordered to place SCP-174 on their hand. Subject does so after initial hesitation. After several seconds, subject begins a mundane conversation with SCP-174. After roughly 2 minutes, the subject asks SCP-174, "What happened to you?" At which point, the figure begins to recount a story of how it was left behind and damaged in a house fire, and subsequently discarded by its original owner. Note: subject's records indicate that her house was the victim of an arson attack in 19... Subject begins to console the figure and reassure it with standard positive statements. Figure remarks that it is lonely and wants to find friends. Subject begins to punch and pound the door with their free hand. When guards enter the cell, sidearms raised, the subject recoils to the corner of the cell, cradling the figure and whispering to it. Exact words not picked up by microphone. Guards succeed in removing SCP-174 from the subject and leave the cell. At this point, the subject screams, "They have him! My wonderful baby!" and begins punching and kicking the door in a futile escape attempt. Note: at this point, Dr. A ordered the experiment concluded. D14285 was terminated after attempts to calm her failed. This experiment was one of the first conducted with SCP-174, before the efficacy of amnestics had become apparent. Addendum 174-2. Incident 174-A. On 2000, Dr. A entered Storage Unit 7 to find SCP-174 sitting on the floor, next to its containment unit, looking directly at the main entrance door. The door to SCP-174's unit had been sealed shut, with no access having been logged in the previous week. After being replaced in containment, video surveillance was installed within Storage Unit 7 as a precaution against future translocations, and a GPS tracking unit was attached to SCP-174. Lesson complete. If you missed the previous orientation, go watch SCP-173, The Sculpture, right now. Or for the complete course. Item number SCP-172. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. Any personnel wishing to access SCP-172 must receive written approval and undergo a 1-hour training session. All interaction with SCP-172 must be overseen by at least one Class 4 operative, who may end the session at their discretion. Any and all records, drawings, or correspondence produced by SCP-172 are to be submitted immediately to Dr. for review. Reasonable requests made by SCP-172 are to be granted after approval by said doctor. SCP-172 is to be allowed out of its containment area with approval, as long as it is accompanied by an armed Class 4 operative. Armed personnel are to be stationed at the door of SCP-172. Should SCP-172 attempt to escape, it is to first be asked to cease and desist, and then led back to its containment area. Containment area is to be kept stocked with paper, pencils, and any additional components requested by SCP-172. Tables, chairs, and any additional furnishings requested by SCP-172 are to be provided pending approval by Dr. Upon entering its dormant state, SCP-172 should be placed in its transportation box until rewound. Description: SCP-172 appears to be a human being, 34 years of age, 185 centimeters or 6 foot 1 inches tall, black hair and mustache, 175.5 kilograms or 386 pounds, and of Russian descent. SCP-172's personality is very friendly and intelligent, if somewhat dull and repetitive. SCP-172 prefers dress from the 1860s. It always wears a large ornate key on a long necklace. SCP-172 has never identified itself by any name, and is not upset by being referred to by its designation number. Internally, SCP-172 is a staggeringly complex automaton, possessing over 2 million moving parts, and 18 million components at last count. Component parts appear to be made of glass, silk, wood, steel, brass, rubber, and several other substances. Similarity between this construction and that of SCP-2776 suggests a similar creator or creators. SCP-172 also has several modules that can be installed via a hatch in its chest. These appear to alter behavior, speech, movement, and several parameters based on position in the body cavity and module components. SCP-172 has 46 modules at current count, having built 3 of these while in Foundation custody. Currently, SCP-172 is loaded with the Engineer module. Modules have been identified by SCP-172 as Caretaker, Soldier, Medic, Mother, and King, though this is by no means a comprehensive list. Under no circumstances are modules to be replaced without O5 level authorization. SCP-172 is powered via a mainspring, which is wound with the key in SCP-172's possession, after inserting it into a hole at the base of the neck. SCP-172 can operate for 8 hours on a single full wind-up. SCP-172 appears wholly human when in operation, and is capable of all basic human functions. SCP-172 has no need to eat, breathe, or sleep, but will perform all these functions if allowed to do so. SCP-172 is extremely obedient, and will follow any instructions given to it to the best of its ability. SCP-172 does not view its existence as strange, and asserts that it is human, even when shown its internal components. SCP-172 is also extremely delicate, and great care must be taken to preserve and maintain its function. SCP-172 has also shown a level of mechanical skill nothing short of miraculous. SCP-172 is capable of analyzing and copying any mechanical device it comes in contact with. This was first shown when it became apparent that locks of any kind cannot contain SCP-172. It has also made several copies or upgraded versions of SCP technology, all based on incredibly complex clockwork. Most notably, data expunged. Document number 172-4R. Notes on recovery of SCP-172. SCP-172 was recovered after the Great War, in a chamber below a former vacation home of the Tsars. Exposed due to stray bombing, the chamber and its contents were badly damaged, but SCP-172 was found intact in an iron crate, along with many modules and its key. Item was removed by operatives and wound up inside testing facilities. SCP-172 appeared to wake up from a deep sleep and proceeded to greet everyone present in Russian. When Agent shouted in surprise, SCP-172 pushed against its chest and repeated its greetings in English. SCP-172, when questioned, stated that its last memory was playing with a young boy. The boy left, and SCP-172 began to feel very tired, so it returned to the box. It has no memory of its creation, creator, or name. Lesson complete. If you missed the previous orientation, go watch SCP-171, Collective Brain Foam, right now. Item number, SCP-171. Object Class, Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. A 4,500-liter pool of seawater located at Bioresearch Area 12 is the current research location of SCP-171. Though not immediately dangerous, minimal physical contact between secretions of SCP-171 and its hosts are to be observed. All communications between hosts and researchers are to be recorded and transcribed. Human hosts are to be fed a vegan diet of their choosing. Other animal hosts are to be fed appropriately. Fresh seawater is to be cycled into its tank regularly. Description. Originally, SCP-171 was thought to be a colony of microscopic organisms, similar to SCP-968 or SCP-165, but further investigations revealed SCP-171 to be a single entity, spanning 300 square meters when first encountered. SCP-171 is a web-like matrix of small, fine tendrils of neurons, mucous glands, and muscle fibers, suspended in a frothy foam of its own creation. It is not capable of self-locomotion, and does not actively attack or feed on other living organisms. Rather, it attempts to form a symbiotic relationship with all organisms it comes into contact with. Flagella of the muscles surrounding the neural fibers work mucus, sea salt, water, and other secretions into bubbles, forming a large foam support. Any creature that spends a significant amount of time in contact with the matrix of SCP-171 risks becoming integrated into a collective consciousness sustained by it. People who become covered in SCP-171 foam describe a tingly or tickly sensation experienced, which researchers have observed as threads of SCP-171 tunneling through the skin to directly integrate into the subject's nervous system. In time, the simple motor neurons of subjects are expanded into an elaborate two-way positive communication nexus, allowing the brains of hosts to communicate with each other and the entity of SCP-171. Over time, the individuality of subjects are incorporated into and shared with others of the SCP-171 matrix, resulting in a collective consciousness in which individual personalities are non-existent. There are currently 19 human subjects host to SCP-171, 11 civilian, and 8 Class D personnel. Subjects are capable of traversing the foam without losing conscious contact with the collective, as neuroreceptors on the subject's skin form to allow chemical communication between the subject and SCP-171, much in the same way terminal axons communicate with dendrites in the brain. These receptors on the skin look like small white to clear moles, slightly raised and very sensitive to touch. Some subjects disappear into the foam of SCP-171 and are not seen again for several months. It is unknown how they survive without fresh water or sustenance. Other hosts include 2 Australian porpoises, originally 4. 4 beach gulls, 3 have been euthanized. 41 fish of various species, euthanized for study. 27 beach crabs, euthanized for study. And 1 canine. Within 2 hours, most subjects begin forming neuroreceptors on the skin and receiving neural contact with SCP-171. After 3 hours, a psychological bond has been established between subjects and the collective. After 6 hours, a complete integration and dependency on the collective has evolved. At this point, removing the subject from contact with SCP-171 results in manic and violent behavior, along with eventual complete psychological breakdown of the individual, leading to a vegetative state of mind. 4 individuals have been lost in this manner. When interviewed, all subject hosts speak with the same core collective consciousness, as if they were parts of a single entity. The collective is aware of itself, and its composure of diverse individuals. It even laments the loss of each individual persona. SCP-171 tells researchers that it understands what it is, but not where it came from, explaining that its own intelligence and the intelligence of the hosts it incorporated were too simple to understand or remember its origin. Researchers noted the change in SCP-171's personality after integrating Class D personnel, and chose not to allow inclusion of violent, ill-willed, or malevolent personnel from that point on. SCP-171 has
I guess it's time to go to bed. It's night time. So, yeah. Let's head to bed, I guess. Here we are. Good morning, SCP-001. I'm the new scientist what assigned to you. Cool. I'm going out in the courtyard, okay? Oh good. See ya. See ya. Let's close this. Let's head out in the courtyard. Push play.
expressed that through meditation and understanding, it chooses to avoid the consumption of other animals when possible. Addendum 171-1. SCP-171 was first encountered by beachgoers and surfers on August 12, 2007, along the Australian coastline near Yamba, New South Wales, when civilians playing in the foam began experiencing abnormal skin conditions. CDC officials contacted SCP personnel when they were unable to explain the anomaly.
Let's have a
Addendum
join.
171-2. Personnel who wish to be voluntarily integrated with SCP-171 must first be subject to a complete psychological evaluation to ensure sound mental health, with special emphasis on possible disconnection from humanity and potential suicidal tendencies. They are to be repeatedly warned that such integration is permanent, and that no evidence exists to show that SCP-171 in any way exhibits a state of higher consciousness, or indeed a consciousness significantly different from our own. If subject persists in wishing to be integrated, and has been shown to be making the decision in a state of sound mind, then they are to be permitted to do so. Lesson complete. If you missed the previous orientation, go watch SCP-170, a tube of superglue, right now. Or for the complete course.
Fuck off, Edge.
Item number SCP-170. Object class safe. Special containment procedures. SCP-170 point for any signs of stress. While small cracks appear. Item number SCP-169. Object class Keter. Special containment procedures. Because of its size, SCP-169 cannot and almost certainly will never be contained. No structure on Earth is large enough or strong enough to contain SCP-169. The location of SCP-169 is not precisely known, but imaging satellites and analyses of eccentricities in the Earth's orbit suggest SCP-169 is located in the southern Atlantic Ocean, possibly stretching around the tip of South America. Any satellite footage of a shift in the landmasses produced by SCP-169 is to be excised and destroyed by embedded agents. Description: SCP-169 is surmised to be a marine arthropod of enormous size, known as the Leviathan by generations of sailors and oral history. Presumed at first to be a myth, SCP-169 was detected in by Mobile Task Force Gamma-6 during an investigation of paranormal activity around an undisclosed archipelago. During Gamma-6's investigation, Dr. Gamma-6... Today, we will be studying item number SCP-166. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-166 is contained in Biocontainment Zone C at Site 19, which has been modified to include a hermetically sealed antechamber and an industrial-strength air purifier. Containment staff must wear the specially designated 166 biohazard suits at all times when inside SCP-166's containment area. Due to SCP-166's unique physiological needs, a variety of loose-fitting organic cotton clothing has been provided, to be rotated monthly. All meals are to be cooked according to the guidelines provided, with as little inorganic additives as possible. Reasonable requests for personal items and modifications to the containment suite may be granted upon approval by a Level 4 or higher authority. Update. All requests by SCP-166 must be approved personally by Site Director Light. To date, SCP-166 has requested a copy of the Holy Bible, Douay Rheims, Challoner revision. Granted. A Catholic Rosary. Granted. Access to a Catholic priest for confession, Mass, and other sacraments. Chaplain Davis has been scheduled to meet with SCP-166 on alternating Sundays, after a thorough decontamination process. Various books and magazines, mostly religious in nature. Granted, pending review and approval of contents. A telephone, with which to contact the abbess of the Our Lady of Mercy Convent in County Galway, Ireland. Denied by Site Director. Description: SCP-166 is a European female human in its late teens, with ungulate features, possessing antlers, hooved feet, and a short tail, reminiscent of Rangifer tarandus, common reindeer. Despite these obvious abnormalities, DNA analysis reveals no abnormal genetic traits. Within a 15-meter radius of SCP-166, artificial objects gradually return to an unworked state. Higher complexity objects like electronics or vehicles are affected quicker, with degradation of their metallic components causing catastrophic structural failure in a matter of hours. Rudimentary materials, such as stone buildings or products made of organic materials, decay at a virtually imperceptible rate. Within the same radius, plant life will begin to sprout, often growing in improbable places, such as out of security cameras or ID scanners. SCP-166 possesses a possibly anomalous sensitivity to artificial material and pollutants, with inhalation or contact causing pressure ulcers and symptoms of acute asthma attacks. In one case, physical proximity to a smoker caused SCP-166 to undergo a severe asthma attack, even though the doctor at the time had not smoked a cigarette for 3 weeks. Discovery. SCP-166 was discovered at the Our Lady of Mercy Convent in County Galway, Ireland, where it had lived since infancy. SCP-166 was confirmed by a defecting Global Occult Coalition agent to be the child of Threat Entity 9927 Black, the Goddess, also known as SCP, who was terminated by a GOC strike team in what would be known as the Cornwall Incident. Recovered GOC documentation. Threat ID KTE-9927-Blackchild. The daughter. Authorized response level 4. Severe threat. Description. Threat entity is the child of incarnated LTE-9927 Black, the Goddess, and an unknown father. While it strongly resembles its mother and shares its animalistic features, it lacks the extreme bestial appearance of 9927 Black, possesses minor chlorokinetic abilities, but primary reason for threat entity classification is the instinctive knowledge and eligibility to enact occult procedure Clockwork Blackchild Havilah, a worldwide ritual working that would irreversibly regress human civilization to Neolithic standards. Strike Team Lancelot neutralized 9927 Black in England during an operation which would later be known as the infamous Cornwall Incident, but were unable to confirm the liquidation of 9927 Blackchild due to the death of the strike leader, Agent Ukulele. Ukulele was posthumously awarded the Silver Aegis for his lifelong service to humanity. Liquidation. Threat entity is not known to possess any defensive abilities. Terminate with extreme prejudice. The agent had refused to terminate SCP-166, instead smuggling it to a Catholic convent in County Galway, Ireland. It lived there until the age of 12, at which point a visitor to the convent accidentally witnessed SCP-166 and reported it to authorities. The agent then contacted the Foundation, agreeing to share GOC intelligence in return for the guaranteed safety and containment of SCP-166. Further details are classified. Addendum 166.1. Chaplain Davis Bi-Weekly Interview. Davis. Good morning, child. SCP-166. Good morning, Father. Davis. As usual, I have to remind you that due to our environment, the seal of confession will not take place unless specifically invoked. Even then, details of our conversation can be unsealed if they're determined to be essential. Understand? SCP-166 nods. Davis. Excellent. Now, how are you doing? SCP-166. Good. One of the staff told me about Benedict yesterday. Is that true? Davis. Yes. That was rather unfortunate, but it does make sense. He was rather old even when he first took up the position. Now he can rest, knowing he served the church well. SCP-166. Do you know who's going to replace him? Davis. Speculation has abounded, but it could be anyone. These are difficult times after all, with all the recent controversies. They may want a fresh face to represent the church, or they may go with a man who's dedicated years of his life. Who knows? They may even pick a working class man. It certainly would give people something to talk about. SCP-166. I guess so. SCP-166 and Davis fall silent. Davis, I'm sensing a question arising, child. SCP-166. Sorry. Davis, no need to apologize. That is what I'm here for, after all. What is it? SCP-166. It's just, I wanted to ask you something, though it might be a little personal. I was just wondering, do you have a good relationship with your parents? Davis. My mother, yes. Before she passed away, I visited her once a month at their retirement home, plus her birthday and holidays. Told her I was a chaplain serving in the military, which I suppose is somewhat close to the truth. SCP-166. And your father? Davis. That is a rather more complicated question. He was a good man, a soldier, who held three things dearly: God, country, and family. Unfortunately, he held those convictions rather severely, which resulted in some heated discussions. I love him still, but this way is best for everyone. Davis sighs. Davis, and what about your parents? I know you lived in the convent, but before that? SCP-166. I never really knew them. I got dropped off when I was a baby. I mean, I guess they must have known the sisters if they put me there, but I don't remember them. Just what I picked up. They mentioned my mother a bit, before they realized that they should watch what they say about me. I think they said something about her being a goddess, which obviously wouldn't be true. She must have been some sort of spirit, but she must have been something if I ended up looking like this. SCP-166 gestures to herself. SCP-166. I remember eavesdropping on the abyss. She was talking to one of the other sisters about how she had done something wrong. Something about a ritual that someone else stopped. They said she died. Davis, I'm sorry for your loss. SCP-166. Not like I knew her. Davis. And your father? SCP-166 hesitates. SCP-166. I don't know. He must have been the one who dropped me off at the convent. But why there? Why didn't he take me with him? Davis. Well, I'm sure he had his reasons. SCP-166. Maybe. You know, they never talked about him. Not once. I must have asked the abbess 1,000 times, but she never even mentioned a hint of him. SCP-166 pauses. SCP-166. If my mother was so horrible, what did my father do? End log. Addendum 166.2. Disciplinary interview.
Shit.
Hungry?
Fuck off. Edge.
Disciplinary interview of
There we
expunged.
are.
Begin log. Light. What the hell were you thinking? Expunged. I wanted to make sure she's all right. You wouldn't let me talk to her. I took another route. Light. What you did was so much worse than that. If you just stuck to throwing your weight around to get her amenities, sure, I could overlook that. But you then go about trying to give a Class 4 anomaly a phone line to the outside world. Damn it. The Council already dislikes you working at the same site as her. This gets out, you can kiss whatever deal you made goodbye. Expunged. Come on, Sophia. She's harmless. The only reason she's in there is because of me. I had to do something. Was the Foundation just going to let her grow up thinking that her... Light. Before you say another word, remember that this will be public to everyone with a Class 4 clearance. I can redact your name, but I can't stop people from putting the pieces together from an ill-timed outburst. Expunged remains silent. Expunged. 16 years. 16 years where she couldn't walk through a city, or catch a movie, or just go shopping. Doesn't matter if she's in a convent or a Foundation cell. She's being locked up for something she had no choice in. All because of me. It isn't fair. Light. I know. Expunged. and I can't do anything about it. I could send a
Another
strike
joint.
team anywhere in the world. I know secrets that the most powerful people in the world would pay billions for, and yet I can't even so much as talk to her. Let her know that she's not alone. Light, you've done the best you could. Much more than anyone could have expected of you in an impossible situation. Expunged. Funny how little that makes of a difference. Expunged falls silent. Expunge. You know, I don't care. Just write me up. Let's just get this over with. Light, I'm scheduling you for 6 two-hour sessions with a Foundation psychologist. I'll make sure it's glass. He signs off at the end of it. We can expunge this from your record. I know. Thank you, Sophia. End log. On 05/08/2013.